higher power. Not just your lover, give you what you need. A higher power, what we're all about. Whatever hour, where it really counts. Not just your lover, give you what you need. No matter situation, baby, rely on me. Oh, when I met you, I just knew that you would take my heart.
Certain shit I won't allow. Yeah, was humble till I figured out. Remember when Boogie said the place that we spaz is the spaz room? You could be timid if you so allow. Lock me in a spaz room real quick. I might have been a little fearful about the residuals, how they could probably stretch out the visible. Amongst the team I could get it to minimum amounts to reasonably measure professional accounts to get us in check. I envision a somehow to clear out our debts. It was critical, but now I realize I'm threatened by that definition. Who was the best? Who else could burn out a phoenix from ashes? They need my advances needed to surpass this. I mean, take it to the glass in arenas. You might need a cleanup, that's a misdemeanor. That's just like a little peanut pointing out the elephants in the room. What you expect, what's an elephant to legume? Hope you get it from reference point of view. When I say I could dangle a carrot in front of a stable of horses and tell them to giddy up, manic of sorts I could rally the system, I panic. Of course that'll serve as a pick me up. Trash in your voice, that's an audio, pick it up. Get it, trash, pick it up. Live it fast, eat 'em up. Yeah. True that, ain't gon' lie. Do rag, waves don't die. New black, stakes all high. New math, pay your time. Don't play both sides, better take all bets and I bankroll high. Better get more checks, better gang full pledge, better gang do flex. And I'm at who's next, give a damn who next, bitch. Awkward moment when I'm cornered by all this emotion as opposed to worthy opponent. Y'all get caught up in a motor response and perturbed by a gimmick. Concerned at a limit, but 2 fucks away from disturbed and a minute from giving 2 shits in a hole. I don't mean to be overly shifting your goals, but I'm ridding the system of all of you hoes. Certain shit I won't allow. Was on the verge of walking out. Was humble till I figured out. Whether foaming at the mouth or daily searching for your clout. You can be timid if you so allow. Ah shit. There it is, fake and humble, but they all switch, including him. Told you not to fuck with.
Ready, you don't tip me when it's top. All that gimme, when your shit is gonna drop. I got 20/20 vision, all that sense has been a problem. I got many missions, put that Henny in a shot.
It had been 20 odd years, don't know what the city had planned. Hoping that I make it out of man, I was scrambling again. Grinding for my niggas and the fam, trying to be the one to get us in. I was gunning for the spot, ready had the vision on lock. Boogie tried to take it to the top, wasn't fucking with a lot. I was in the studio to plot, I was putting records in a pop. All in pocket, had the streets buzzing. Back when Georgia Vakian was beatboxing. Cousin, y'all must have known the boy was up to something. I was taking routes nobody thought of at my introduction. No discussion.
I'm all ready, you don't tip me when it's top. All that gimme, when your shit is gonna drop. I got 20/20 vision, all that sense has been a problem. I got many missions, put that Henny in a shot. Man, I'm
Yeah. I don't even gotta pretend. I know the position that I'm in. It'll take a lot to get offended. I'm in it for the win. Loving every minute that I pen. I am at the pinnacle of everything I blow in the wind. Running out of fucks.
Hello.
What's up?
I feel like you're always like shocked that we're doing this again. Like we're doing this to ourselves.
I'm always surprised that there's another episode. I don't even
This is what she signed up for.
Yeah. Let's kick it off the right way, I guess. Recap of Ep 2. So once again, thank you for everybody who watched Ep 2, all the new subscribers, new and old, I guess. And thank you for engaging us very respectfully and gracefully with the topic at hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what we requested in the episode, and you guys definitely obliged. So thank you for that.
And thank you for the subscriptions. I mean, we hit 30K and we don't take that for granted, you know?
Which is very, very dope.
Yeah.
Also, just to kind of speak to some of the comments. I mean, we got a lot of comments, which we were expecting. I think just our traditions and our spirituality is obviously a very topical.
Always.
I mean, it always will be, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
So just I think the general thing that I got is for people who were really kind of inquiring, it was a lot of where does one start, or where does one direct a lot of their questions. And I think for me, what's really dope about today is that we have there's so much information out there, and
It's not taboo.
it really isn't. Like, even just on Google alone, there's literature that you can find on, I'm talking from eBay to like Amazon. There's so much that's actually out there. And I always feel like the best starting place is your family. And I know that's, for some people, that's harder to do, I guess depending on your background, how you grew up and all of that. But I think you'd rather be sure that door is shut, if it is at all. I'd start there and then kind of work my way out, because a lot of it is, most of the curiosity is about lineage. No better place to start than, I guess, your parents, your grandparents, if you still have them, uncles and aunts, just elders. I think, and again, if it is, a daunting topic for your family, honestly, what's the worst?
But also,
if you're that curious.
in as much as you can say what's the worst, I think it can get overwhelming to ask that. So perhaps approach it from a family tree perspective. Try and say, I know who my grandparents are, but who are their parents, and do you by any chance know their parents? I think if it's sort of eased in through that avenue of conversation, I think a lot of people find
perhaps actually, yeah,
it's a more fluid conversation, as opposed to awasekhaya, and a parent could easily just quickly go, where are you getting that from?
Look, I think the thing about it is that there's a difference between lineage and your spirituality.
Yeah.
So as much as somebody can be given information about their lineage, then what?
I get it. I get it. I'm just
for
saying,
me, that's the
to start
fair. Look, I don't think that there's a one formula to it. Your whether it's a family dynamic, those relationships. My point is, though, I think I reached a point where I was like, fear can't be the highest determining factor when it comes to this. More so if it's something you need to, there's an innate feeling that you need to understand it. Fear cripples way too many things, just generally. So that's the first thing I would tackle, if anything.
All right.
Cool.
Why are we on a bench?
All right. So today's topic at hand is actually more about. It's more about like rituals. Right? What I mean by that is the things that we do on a daily.
People got so excited that we're talking rituals, and they thought Ugoma again and the next kanjani.
We're talking, things that keep the mental as strong as possible, right? So that's just something I found more so within myself, right?
Yeah.
I'm definitely a routine person, always have been, so with this period, this time, right, with the lockdown and all of that, I think the first thing to go, at least on our end, was routine. It was very much interrupted, right, because it's just not business as usual. And as a result, what I found, because initially it felt like a break, which sometimes feels good, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't an intentional break.
Yeah.
So as soon as like the routine kind of dissolved, I found that I wasn't as mentally strong in certain aspects.
And things creep in very easily.
Yeah.
The Twitters, the Instagram comment section, Facebook comment
Yeah.
section, that stuff affects you so much quicker. than it generally would. When you're working, when you're just going about your day, you're not paying attention to that as much. And then, the stillness has, created or brought out certain things that some people didn't anticipate, and in another regard, certain things that have been well hidden by people who have been online, So for me, you're right when you say when the routine falls away, it seems you're susceptible to all sorts of things coming from the human dynamic.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's everything that we kind of do. Routine is actually more so for one to kind of keep going, right? It allows for you to at some level disregard things that can creep in, right? So as soon as that kind of disappeared, I mean, I won't lie, it felt good to not necessarily have to wake up at the same time every day and kind of work out at this time, and because it did, like, I do think at some level my body did need a break, and I'm glad that I've been able to tap into that, which is very dope. However, again, just because a lot of distractions, right, whether good habits or not, really kind of serve the purpose of you not necessarily being in your head too much, right? And for us, I think how it started, more so if we're just looking at 2020, right? So beginning of the year, I started reading the 5 a.m. Club. I know many people are familiar. If you're not, it's a book by Robin Sharma, and it essentially speaks to routine, right, and the importance of like starting your day very early. And that was cool. I think there was a lot in what he was expressing that was part of my practice, but I think just how it was tackled was very new to me. I then introduced the book to Dineo, and what was cool is that we were kind of able to see eye to eye just in terms of the potential gains that could come from it.
And the individual's response, because it's not, there is no one formula that works for two people. And most often it's rare that it does. So when I began to see eye to eye, and I won't lie, a lot of what made me curious was his perspective on it. So when I began to fully take charge of, I'm going into this routine, it was lovely to see the effects, because he was slightly ahead of me already.
Probably by like, what, 2 weeks maybe?
Yes, 2 weeks. So then I was like, I want that for myself. And I think it's so important, just as a couple, and that's important to me personally, to sort of be able to meet each other in that realm of understanding, of supporting each other's goals. Whether if he had done it individually, I think we are a great support system to each other. But for you two to undergo something together, I think we've been through one of the toughest things together, and that's what makes us allies in a lot. One of the toughest things being in Dwazo. So, having gone through that together and being so close, you can love each other, but certain couples aren't close. I've found a lot of people in this time are saying things like, I'm not used to my person being home, and it's difficult for us to be in the same space together, and we're used to that, so just going back to it appealing to the two of us at the same time, and embarking on the elements of routine at the same time, but incorporating things that we know, not a completely foreign concept to us as a couple, but just placing things that are of importance within a schedule.
I think, look, from a scheduling perspective, I mean, that is the individual's course, right? That's where literature like this allows it to deviate at some point, even if we're practicing it all around the same time. But to give some kind of background for people who haven't necessarily read it to understand it, it's essentially starting your day at 5 a.m. And really just starting it with a routine of kind of mental focus. So what that means is you start off by first thing you do is a workout, right? So it's a 20-minute workout, and what you're doing is you're actually so there's a hormone in you that is that in your sleep kind of builds up, and it actually builds up just below your sweat glands. And what it's actually, one of the many things it's responsible for is anxiety in an individual. So, and then the advantage of that is you can actually sweat it out first thing in the morning, right? And another advantage is, like, so if you're someone who does workout or you know, who just has any kind of relationship with like exercise, you know you're constantly doing your best to be consistent, right? And you fall off. It's just, I guess, part of that process. But you know, days of consistency are a big W for you, right? Yeah. So this is really awesome because you start off with a win, like first thing in the morning, right? You're able to count that towards your day as I've gained a win already, right? And then it includes then meditation at some level, whatever that kind of means to you, whether that's prayer, whether it's whatever that means to you. And then thereafter it's mastery. So you're using the first few hours to work on whatever it is that's important to you for your self-development, for where you're trying to go. Hence the individual factor, right? Point is, it's really dope when we're aligned in that regard, because then if we're both waking up at 5 a.m., there's a level of accountability there. You know, it assists just in terms of that motivation and drive. So yeah, lockdown comes and that falls away.
Start sleeping
quickly. quickly. One of the first things to go. And also, just like sleeping mad late, right? Everything just went haywire. And again, realizing, you know, as time went by, that I think the mental strength was starting to also then kind of kind of take a knock itself, you know. And I'm very uncompromising when it comes to mental health and, you know, mental strength.
That's true.
If something compromises it slightly,
you're quick to detect it.
I cut it out. Like, you know, it's just not worth it for me. And that speaks to relationships. That speaks to anything. If anything if anything serves as a threat to my mental health, and if it serves as a threat to anybody else's, the advice I'll probably give you is remove it entirely. Not even try work the relationship. But that's just a phase that I'm in.
But I can't say it's a phase that you're in now. I think you've always just been somebody who's conscious at that level. And I don't think a lot of people can say that they're conscious at that level. I'll cite a small example, like if something upsets you, let's say from social media, and you got into a tour with someone, and never you. Let's say you get into a tour on social media, and you know, your partner doesn't necessarily see that, and maybe you're in separate spaces, and then you come home with all that pent-up aggression, and it comes out onto your partner. And somebody won't be conscious enough to go, I took all of that I experienced on social media, which was detrimental to my mental health, and brought it home. And a lot of people forget to check themselves in that way. I love that you are self-conscious, not in the terrible sense of the word, but in the, for lack of a better,
self-aware.
Self-aware, yes.
Okay.
Self-aware to the point where you can say my mental health is important. Not too many people can say my mental health is important because they're just going. I love, and you bringing that to the relationship made me sort of more self-aware, because it was part of, in the learning of you, I was like, okay, this is his love language. And I have to be aware of what comes out of my mouth, the actions that I bring to our relationship, and even beyond the scope of our relationship, just outside, you know, it really just opened my eyes to conduct.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's just so many wonderful contributing factors for me personally, that where we fell off with the routine, make it so much easier to come back to the routine, because we knew or have mostly known what works for us.
Yeah, definitely. But to add to that, look, so again, with routine, it being such an individual, journey. It's ever changing also, right? Depending on where you are in your life, what stage you're in, and I mean, and this might be a little, I don't know, a little left field, but like even vices, right? And I'm talking whether positive or negative vices. Like for me, working out is an actual vice, right? If I don't have it as an outlet, I can be an asshole. I've picked that up about myself, and I picked it up very early. It's like waking up in the morning and not having coffee. Again, I can
this
be
guy
an asshole.
and his coffee.
And I get it, and that's a vice, but it's my understanding what my routine and what my vices do for me, why they're important, and all of that, right? So I don't, for example, I won't have more than 2 cups of coffee in a day. So I'm not addicted to it, but I understand why I need it for a specific thing. And that's what I mean about things being very, it being an individual aspect. Like, I'm not mad at smokers, for example, because I understand what the purpose of nicotine is in terms of a vice. I'm not advocating smoking, but you get what I'm saying, right?
I do get what you're saying.
In somebody's groove, and I think that's why it's so important to be in an individual groove and also not be judgmental.
Well, look, I think for me, you speak of coffee and you speak of gym being your ally. For me, at some level, sleep is my vice. I know for a fact that when we started this routine, I would get very mad at you.
Yeah.
Like, I'd get mad pissed off for waking up at 5 a.m. and having to work out and it feeling like it's a boot camp. And I'm just like, what the hell is this for? The purpose comes much later. You start, in this regard, I think hindsight is 2020. You start to see the benefits so much later. And yes, during the day you go, actually, I'm more active. I have a lot more energy.
Yeah.
And you just start to follow that feeling, follow that momentum to go, okay, well, lead me to where you're going, because I'm not exactly fully sure of where we're going, but I know that it's a feel-good feeling. But I really like the fact that you're saying that it's an individual, it's the individual's journey, because ultimately it is self-mastery. It is an assessment of some sort at any given point in time in your life to go, where am I exactly? What aids me and what doesn't aid me?
Yeah.
And what is it that I am bringing to the table as an individual in order for forward movement, progression, all those positive things, because it takes that work.
Yeah.
It takes that work. Things like healing, it's touched on in the book, yes?
What part?
To let go of certain things that are not serving you.
Yes. The thinking there is, again, it's really just prioritizing, right? So if I have X number of hours in a day and I start my day at 5 a.m. Obviously now I need to account for sleep, so I'm probably crashing earlier, and so I only have these fixed hours. That on its own means if some of these hours go towards mastery and self-development and all of that, I only have a limited number of hours now to engage, whether it's people, energies, and all of that. So now I start to prioritize. Time becomes the highest commodity all of a sudden. So then I just can't share my time with just anybody at any given time. It's too important as a commodity for one.
And it's easy to take it for granted. It's so easy to go, I have time for self-development. I have time to break this down for myself. I have time to read the book. I have time to spend with people. And you realize as you're going through that actually that is the one thing that we take for granted, time.
Oh yeah. And again, it being highest commodity also means, like, without and especially for me, right, without understanding that concept, anxiety was really at its highest, and I was just kind of burning time being anxious, and it serves as like the great silencer, right? So by virtue of, if people don't understand what it is that you're chasing, what you're trying to do, then they can be in a panic, right? And I'm even talking about people who love you, right? So they can just be like, I don't necessarily understand what it is that you're doing. There's also a level of feeling and coming off as isolated at a certain level, so it can make people worry and panic. But the thing about it is being able to not join people in a panic. If you are conscious of exactly what you're doing, the hours you put in that day, you've already put in your time. So it allowed, when I say great silence, I'm more talking silence of the mind, because that, for me, that's always the challenge, right? The loudness, my loudness is louder than anything anyone on social media can say, I know my trigger points more than anybody else. So if I'm able to silence that, then I can be, I get closer to my best self, which is what's dope. So again, I think just being able to come back into exercise, right? Which also took a knock, like a lot of people, we've been eating. And eating.
Yeah, they do understand now. Oh wow! And you'll see, there's a video. There's him running ahead of me in the footage, and like the distance widens because I haven't been running, and I think I'm appreciative of the fact that I'm not beating myself down for all the eating and all of that. I'm instead going, I need to improve.
Yeah, and also when the routine, so just get back on the routine and just give it its time.
And it's a nice new challenge, I aspire to keep up with you on the road. Like,
wow, Shem. Oh, no, that's, cool. But I wouldn't.
Let's leave it, guys. Mhlambe ngizofika. And emangifika, we're going to come back here and he's going to say, I keep up with him. So
yeah, if that ever happens, I'll come back here and say,
let's just leave it. Oh, guys, it's keeping up with him, getting my core back intact, all those things, and those are the things I recognize for myself as an individual. They're things that he recognizes for himself as an individual. Yeah. So we're also putting it to you in the comment section. Let us know what your routines are. How, if at all, you have any routine, what have you embarked on, and please don't misunderstand it as just a weight loss or weight gain type of thing. What are you doing to improve yourself in this time? And the one thing you must not feel is the pressure to do anything by anyone's standards or anyone's book, because the rest is also important. The rat race, the hustle and bustle, I think a lot of us have finally gotten the opportunity to go and reflect. So if the reflection is the actual improvement, then I say kudos to you, because everybody should be doing that. It is the right way to tackle, one of the better ways to tackle this, and to just take care of you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And also because, rest as its own component, right, it means exactly that, rest. So don't rest while being worried that others aren't resting and therefore the gap is widening. None of those things are actual things. Rest if that's what you need, and be comfortable that you made the decision to rest and you're doing exactly that. Whatever it is that allows your body to not burn out and your mental health not to be affected. I think if anything, if we can get through this period and and kind of be stronger, if at all that is an option, I say we work towards it, and routine just kind of works for me. Again, try to switch it off, wasn't great. But that's just me.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching.
Cool, yeah.
We appreciate you.
Keep watching, keep subscribing, and put people on if they're not.
Please recommend to whoever, and whenever, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peace.
Cheers, guys.